What is going on, everybody? Welcome to another brand new installment of For the Love of Wrestling. I, of course, am your host, the Renegade of Wrestling, JJ Williams. Happy Tuesday. How are we doing this morning? Good to see everybody filing into the chat room today for my thoughts on last night's episode of Monday Night Raw. It was definitely an interesting show. It was an eventful show. There were definitely some highs and some lows, some twists and some turns. Let's get right into it. Raw kicked off last night with Rhea Ripley coming to the ring, and she announces the fact that she is being forced to relinquish the WWE Women's World Heavyweight Championship due to an injury that she sustained last week on Raw when Liv Morgan blindsided her backstage and attacked her. I am going to try to keep my cool here, mainly because we're still under 5 minutes, so I can't really go too guttural. But what little respect Liv Morgan did still have with me is completely gone. And I don't want to hear people saying it's a freak accident. That's horseshit. She's a sloppy worker who only gets pushed because of her looks. Period. We will be discussing this more on open mic night, and at that point in time, I'll be able to get more guttural with it. She does issue a statement to the locker room. Whoever gets her title, she will be reclaiming it when she comes back, and I know she will. We then go to commercial, come back, and we see the Judgment Day saying goodbye to Rhea. Basically, trying to make her feel like the Judgment Day will still be kicking ass and handling their business. Priest has got the world title. Everything will be good. Dom, in particular, seems really sad to see Rhea have to leave. Tells her that he loves her. Very, very sad segment rooted in reality. We then go to Sheamus versus Ivar. A solid return match for the Celtic Warrior. It was about what was to be expected. Sheamus went over without it jeopardizing what they've built with Ivar lately. And what I mean by that is while Ivar's win-loss record may not be that great, he's been on a steady incline here as a solo in recent weeks and months, getting opportunities against talent that he probably wouldn't have gotten the chance to work with if he was still teaming within the Viking Raiders. So Sheamus's victory didn't make him look weak. It was a solid match. It was a good match. Ivar got some stuff in on him. Ivar beat him a little bit. But at the end of the day, it was Sheamus's big return, and you knew he was going to get that victory. Once the match is over, Michael Cole points out that the only title Sheamus has never held is the Intercontinental title, which very much tells me that that's going to be Sheamus's motive here in the next months, is building to get that IC title. We then had a Sami Zayn, Chad Gable video package, kind of chronicling their story and everything. where we are, how we got to tonight. They're going to have the main event here on Raw. We then had Triple H come out. And it's always an interesting time when the game blesses us with his presence. Adam Pearce is already in the ring. And they talk about the tag team division. They talk about how good the division is, how stacked it is, how we went into WrestleMania with one set of tag team champions, and we came out with two. So they call out the Awesome Truth. They reveal brand new tag team championships. Shenanigans ensue in the ring as R-Truth calls Triple H Tommaso Ciampa and can't believe that these new titles are for them. It was just, it was R-Truth being R-Truth, and The Miz having to be the straight man, which is always hilarious. You think about your comedy duos of the past, and you've got your straight man and you got your funny man. And we all know how comical The Miz is. Miz has been comical for years. But for the first time, he's really playing the straight man in a duo, and it works. It works so good. Big Boss Man Jeff is in the house. Good to see you. One of the best parts of the Tuesday recaps, it's no longer fucking Monday. Let's do this, brother. Absolutely. Always good to get away from Monday. Nobody loves Monday, except for the fact that Raw airs. So we go straight from that segment presenting the new tag titles, and now we have a triple threat match to determine number one contenders to the Awesome Truth. Awesome Truth stay out at ringside and watch. And we have DIY taking on the Creed brothers. Excuse me. DIY taking on the Creed brothers, taking on the New Day. And this was just an absolute banger of a match that saw DIY get the victory. And as a result, they are now going to be the number one contenders to their Regeneration X cohorts, the Awesome Truth. I have a feeling we're going to see something here with DIY in the coming weeks. I'll get to it in just a moment. We then, for whatever reason, at this point, Michael Cole and Pat McAfee then promote a brand new action figure that is going to be available for pre-order of CM Punk. And then we go to the backstage area and Drew McIntyre destroys a television. Is this the Scottish Warrior or is this Kylo Ren throwing a temper tantrum? Like, seriously. It's hard for me to tell the difference. Next match is a women's tag team match as Maxine Dupree and Ivy Nile take on Indy Hartwell and Candice LeRae. The match was solid. I can't really complain about the action. Maxine, again, looking like she's improving. Beautiful fisherman suplex executed by her. I still don't know what happened at that house show where she got ridiculed. She's doing her best and she seems to be getting better week in and week out. And that's all you can ask of a performer. I still don't get what the hatred is about her, but that's just me. But it was a solid match. Indy Hartwell ended up stooping to Candice's level in order to cheat to allow them to get the win. So it looks like Indy now is embracing Candice's heel turn and maybe going full heel herself, which leads me to the thought process that if DIY are the number one contenders, they may be turning full-blown heel on the Awesome Truth here shortly as well. And then in order to replace Loomis and Theory, we will get the Way, but it'll be Gargano, Ciampa, Hartwell, and Candice. Just a little thought here. We then get another backstage segment from the Judgment Day. Priest basically issuing out mandates of who needs to do what. Finn wants to get the tag titles back. Priest is saying that we need to worry about something else right now. Definitely showing a little bit of dissension there between Priest and Balor once again. Be curious to see what happens with these two. If they end up falling apart as the Judgment Day tries to maintain in Mommy's absence, it'll really go to show that Mommy was the glue that held the Judgment Day together if they fall apart in her absence. We then had a Chad Gable interview. Chad Gable is kind of in the ring before doors are open, grappling and working out a little bit, getting ready for his big match. And he gives a brief interview about what this means to him and his relationship with Sammy and the whole nine. I don't know about that, Jeff. I don't want them to dominate both tag divisions because that means we've got to put gold on somebody I am not that fond of. It's always a possibility, though. Always a possibility. After the Gable interview, we go to Andrade versus Dominic Mysterio. This was a solid lucha style match with Andrade getting the better of Dom Dom here, despite the fact that JD McDonough was at ringside. You would think that would allow Dom to get the upper hand and the advantage here. At this point, it did not. But still, a very, very good match between the two competitors. More women's tag team action as Chelsea Green and Piper Niven took on the team of Kaden Carter and Katana Chance. Good but short match here. Chelsea and Piper actually got a victory. After the way they were defeated on SmackDown, one could assume that they were going to start going down the path to Losersville. But definitely was a good thing to see here. Glad that Chelsea and Piper got the victory, even though it came at the hands of Kaden and Katana. Chelsea is so underutilized to her full potential, and Piper, I still think Piper could be a hugely dominant champion if they just would give her the opportunity. We then had a Liv Morgan backstage promo, and as soon as she opened her mouth, my television went on mute. I didn't want to hear a word that she said. Liv Morgan has Massey Brothers heat right now. Let's just put it that way. I meant Raw and SmackDown. Oh, okay. Gotcha. I guess Grayson Waller by proxy could be part of the way, just like Ciampa. That would kind of make sense, I guess. We then have a Cody Rhodes promo. He thanks Pierce for letting him hang out, even though he is now a SmackDown superstar since becoming WWE Undisputed Champion. So that was the first time we got that clarification. Cody Rhodes is a SmackDown guy now, ever since winning the title. But they're allowing him to be on Raw, which I think is cool. I think the face of the company should be able to be on both shows. Plus, we still have the draft coming up in a couple of weeks. Cody could be back on Raw after the draft, and Priest could be on SmackDown. So, at least until the draft is over with, I don't see any reason why Cody can't be there. He thanks Seth Rollins for being his shield. He calls out Jey Uso. He thanks Jey Uso for getting involved in his match and helping protect him at WrestleMania. Says that he's got his back if he'll allow it. And Jey basically tells him, I want to do this on my own. Before Cody leaves, he tells Jey, until we yeet again. Don't blame me. I didn't write the joke. I'm just repeating the joke. Definitely a dad joke. It was funny, but don't come down on me, y'all. I didn't write it. We then had a Nia Jax promo where she talks about all the top contenders for the women's title now that Rhea's had to relinquish the title and how she's squashed them all. And who's going to be able to defeat her. And she makes a very valid point. I mean, there's definitely a couple people that I know that could handle Nia Jax, but they're on SmackDown. And I don't know if they're going to allow SmackDown to compete for this title. But we do know that next week we will determine who the new champion is. How we're going to do that, don't know. I'd like to see some kind of tournament, but they're clearly going a little bit quicker than that. There's no way they're going to do a single night women's tournament. I mean, maybe. It's the Triple H era, so maybe. Maybe. But I don't know. I don't see a single night tournament. And especially with the Queen of the Ring looming just a month away. We then had Jey Uso versus Finn Balor. Really good match here between these two. And you could tell that this match was set up and that Jey was given Balor in order to try and get Jey ready to face more of the main event talent. I think they're going to start to strap the rocket to Jey, start pushing him to potentially, this time next year or 2 years from now, be champion. But he needs to get out of the lower to mid card and start facing some really top caliber talent. And I think that's what this match against Finn was designed for. You think about Finn Balor, Fergal Devitt, Prince Devitt, whatever you want to call him, the Demon. Think about all his accolades across the world. New Japan, NXT, first ever Universal Champion, granted, had to relinquish it 24 hours later. That's neither here nor there. Finn Balor is a class talent. So I really feel that's what this was set up for. Jey got the victory, and he got one up on the Judgment Day as post-match Dom and Finn and Priest and everybody came out, and Jey was able to take out Dom, take out Balor, take out JD McDonough. The only one he didn't get was Priest. And Priest seemed like he didn't want to have this beatdown because Jey's the number one contender to his title. He wants to face a healthy Jey, not an injured Jey, it looks like. Jey runs through the crowd, ends up going out the front door, and there he finds Sami Zayn. He's looking up at the sky. And Jey's like, what are you looking at? And he talks about how 25 years ago, when he came to his very first event in this building, he walked right through these doors. And Sammy walks through those doors again to make his big entrance to his hometown crowd. Main event, Sami Zayn versus Chad Gable. Everything that I expected to be: knocked down, drag out, just chef's kiss of a match. Beautifully executed. Sammy got the victory, retained the title, helped Gable up. Gable raised his hand up in the air. Everything looks like it's going good. Sammy goes ringside to congratulate his wife and his family. I believe his dad was there at ringside. Gable comes from behind and just strong arm German suplexes him on the floor. Chad Gable apparently has now turned heel. I'm going to wait until next week before we say he's officially gone full blown heel, because it could have just been a "I'm sorry I snapped" type of thing. But if he gets on the microphone and he cuts a full blown heel promo, I I I think that this is going to be very, very good for Gable. But the $1 million question is, what becomes of Alpha Academy? Because Otis can't lead it. Tozawa sure as hell can't lead it. Nor can Maxine. So I see one of two things happening here. The Alpha Academy completely merges with the Creed brothers and they become a super stable. They've already been working together, Ivy and Maxine as a tag team, but officially bring them together. Or we send the Alpha Academy back down to NXT in the draft and let the Alpha Academy get taken into Chase U and let Andre Chase lead Tozawa and Otis. It gives Maxine and Thea Hale could be a thing for a little bit. Definitely something to think about there. See, seeing some comments pop up that I do want to address. Emmanuel says this should be Queen of the Rain hype up since they have a lot of women. Why not some NXT female test the waters? Who should be next? Needs more policing to determine who the woman's champ. Yeah. Personally, I would do that. I would hold off till Queen of the Rain and just let whoever wins Queen of the Rain become the women's champion. But I get that they want to get a title on somebody, especially with some of these international shows coming up. Backlash in France, Money in the Bank in Canada. We've got King Queen of the Rain in Saudi, Clash at the Castle, in Scotland. Got a lot of international shows coming up, so I understand why they want to get a title on somebody, but at the very least, I would do a tournament and crown the champion at Backlash. And then have the King Queen of the Ring be number one contender. Jeff says Renegades rules updated shirt coming soon. Rule 5, we do not talk about the Massies. Rule 6, the only revenge we can live with is of the Sith. Not a bad idea. Heel Gable is the best Gable. That's true. The beatdown and ankle lock seems pretty heelish. I don't know what else you could do to show Chad is heel. I know that all that seemed heelish, but it also could just be I lost control of my senses and I snapped thing. We've seen it before. That false sense of security. I do realize the draft is coming. I've mentioned that a couple times today on my show. Thank you for tuning in and joining us today. All in all, I feel like Raw was a very solid show. I would say probably an 8 out of 10. I feel like that's pretty damn good. You know, the Gable thing I feel was predictable. We all kind of saw the heel turn coming, if in fact it's a full-blown heel turn. I feel Chelsea and Piper versus Caden and Katana could have been a little bit longer. I feel like we didn't have to strip Rhea of the title and have her vacate it. And again, I will be getting much more into that on open mic night, so make sure you guys tune in for that. That is going to just about wrap things up for today. I am going to run our watch along trailer, which still has not been updated with the New Japan things that will be ready for the 12 o'clock show. But here's everything else coming up across the multiverse of media.
And now, preview time. So let's take a look at what's coming your way.
And we are back. See here, we got Chris saying 8 out of 10. It's no longer Vince with Roman Reigns not defending it. If it's a new regime, makes sense to strip if it's longer than 6 months, but we don't know if it's going to be longer than 6 months. So, yeah. I don't think we should have stripped her right away. But again, we'll get in depth into that come open mic night. But before we get to open mic night, because that is Saturday, today, noon Pacific, 3 p.m. Eastern, we are going to once again go inside the mind of the Renegade. And I am going to be discussing, is AEW dying? And what can be done to save the sinking ship? Also, this afternoon, 4 p.m. Pacific, 7 p.m. Eastern, Statboy Sports Bar will open its doors. Join your barkeep, Statboy Mike. Food is hot, the beer is ice cold, and the seats are warm. So pull up a bar stool and engage in some professional sports conversation with your barkeep, Statboy Mike. And then, of course, make sure you guys tune in tomorrow. Same bat time, same bat channel as I discuss and review tonight's episode of NXT and today's episode of NWA Power. Not going to want to miss out on that. Until then, thank you guys for joining me and tuning in. And I will see you guys at noon Pacific, 3 Eastern, when we once again go inside the mind of the Renegade. Take it easy.
The Jeff Meacham Network's Multiverse of Media. For over 15 years, the recognized symbol of excellence and the standard bearer in coverage of sports and entertainment.
Thank you, JJ. Appreciate you.